Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Inner Peace, Better Health. I'm your host, Sana, and today we have a truly special guest joining us, Scott Grace. Now, listeners, he's a man who has made every mistake in the book, yet turned them into stepping stones for a life filled with wisdom, humor, and authenticity. Known as the spiritual Dr. Seuss, he is a singer, speaker, workshop leader, life coach, and a stand up comedian who has shared the stage with the likes of the legends like Robin Williams and Deepak Chopra. So, listeners, please welcome the insightful and hilarious Scott Grace. So, Scott, it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us. And, let's uncover your journey from an unlicensed street peddler to a best-selling author and sought-after speaker. It's nothing short of inspiring for all of us.
Hmm. Where do we begin?
So, Scott, before we move on to, our discussion on the topic, um, would you like to share a bit about your personal journey? I know it can take a lot of time because, you know, it literally can't be summarized in just a 30 minutes of conversation. But if you can
Mhm.
share.
I would like to share that rather than details and specifics, that I have
Yeah.
devoted my life to personal growth and spirituality and invested my time and money. And I was just thinking with amusement of like if I had $1 for every dollar I've spent on retreats, meditation teachers, coaching, life coaches, therapists, healers, mystics, psychics. If I had $1, which I apparently I did because I spent all that money, I would be multimillionaire. But I've invested, and it's because I think at an early age I recognized nothing was going to cut it in this world. Success, relationship, nothing was going to bring me any consistent peace if I look for it in the world. And so I started at a very young age looking for it inside.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Scott, for sharing that. And now moving on. You are a very strong advocate about healing the inner critic. So for our listeners, if you can explain what exactly is inner critic, and if you can share a personal experience where you had to
Mm,
confront and heal your inner critic.
mm, okay. Well, uh, several thousand experiences come to mind.
Yeah.
But let's answer the first question. The inner critic is the voice on your shoulder, in the back of your mind, constant commentary, constantly looking at your life and reporting. Like if there was a sport event, like football, soccer, whatever, and there's an announcer who's just reporting. He's not on the field, he's not playing the game, he's reporting about it. And imagine that announcer is very critical. It tends to see the players
Mhm.
as not doing good enough. They're not playing their best. And so he's constantly commenting on the faults of the players on the field. So the inner critic is that part of your mind that is in constant commentary about your life. And unfortunately, it's not an uplifting, encouraging commentary. It's more of, I must, I must point out your faults so that you could do better. Because if I give you enough guilt and grief for your glaring mistakes, then in theory, you would improve. But for most of us nowadays, that may have been true for our parents. Most of us, the guilt and the grievances that we hold against ourselves actually make us more into a couch potato, or could turn us into a workaholic, which doesn't have any peace or contentment in it, to have to constantly be productive in order to just run a little faster than the inner critic's commentary.
Mm.
And part of what I do is I write songs that have messages that contradict the inner critic's message. And I'll
Wow.
share just a little taste of, I think it was maybe the first song, 1988, that I
Uh-huh.
wrote to address the inner critic.
Yeah.
Well, you rehearse, yeah. Well, you rehearsed your lines a couple thousand times, had them perfectly memorized. Then on opening night, you were filled with fright and laughed when you should have cried. You thought you were doomed to eternal gloom, and your inside started to shake. Well, I got news for you. We've all made them too. Oops, you made a mistake. Oops, you made a mistake. And you're beautiful. Yes, you're beautiful. Oops, you made a mistake. And you're beautiful to me. You're beautiful to me. And there's three other verses with different mistakes. And the song became very popular. And I realized it was also for children. So I wrote some verses with mistakes that children can relate to. And at
Uh-huh.
that time, I was doing some children's concerts and going to schools. And I would say to the kids after the song was almost all over, I'd say, okay, think of a mistake that you've made in your life recently or not so recently. And that one will do. And then hold it in the palm of your hand as if you can see it in front of you. And if there are adults in the room, I'll say, some of you might want to use two hands.
Yeah.
And now we're going to sing to ourselves, sing it loud. Oops, I made a mistake. And I'm beautiful. Yes, I'm beautiful. Oops, I made a mistake. And I'm beautiful to me. I'm beautiful to me. Yeah.
Wow. 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 That is so, so, so soothing. It
Mhm, mhm.
helps, belittles the mistake.
Mm.
Great expert. Um, and what role, uh, does spirituality play in confronting and transforming one's inner critic?
Well, the inner critic is the part of you that likes to play God, that likes to think it knows what's good or evil, right, wrong, good, bad. The inner critic is the one who ate of the apple, picked from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and started to think, I know. And spirituality introduces us to the beauty of our ignorance. I don't know. I don't know what's best for me. I don't know. That's God's business. My job is to tune in to the non-judgmental nature, the unconditional love that created me, created the universe. And that love doesn't judge. It doesn't say good job, bad job. It's not about approving or disapproving. It's just love. And any spiritual practice, hopefully, not just calms the mind, but opens our hearts to the way love loves.
Mhm.
And those of us who've been parents can really reconnect more easily to how did you feel when your child was a baby and or when they were learning to walk and they fell down a bunch of times. Did you judge that as a mistake? Did you in any way feel any kind of impatience about your child's walking process? No, not, it's so adorable to see this little human being learning from falling to the left, falling to the right.
Right.
So eventually we learn to see ourselves that way and to feel how much the universe adores us. And dare I say it, hopefully, before we die, we learn to adore ourselves.
Absolutely true. Very rightly said, Scott. Also, you often say that valuing peace, it creates peace. So, from a spiritual perspective, how has this principle guided your life and work as well?
To value peace is to create peace. In other words, if you if you want it more than anything in the world, then you're going to get it. You're going to have it. You're going to tune into it because it's all you want. Getting to the place where it's all you want, that is a life journey. That's what life is about. It's like we have to check off a bunch of things on the list until we detach enough from our egoic goals so that we recognize, okay, I get it. There's pleasure and pain and pleasure and pain and ups and downs, but there's only one thing that remains consistent, and that's peace. And my job is to tune into it like it's a radio station. I've been listening to WEGO so much that I need to practice tuning into WGOD
Hmm.
until that becomes constant. There was a spiritual teacher who said, one of his students said, you know, they were by the river and master, teach me how to find inner peace. And the spiritual teacher just unexpectedly and very quickly took his head and dumped it in the water so he couldn't breathe and kept it under for a long time. And the guy finally came up and just oh. And the teacher said, when you want peace as much as you wanted that first inhale, you'll have
Mhm.
it.
I have heard this story, have it's really very,
Yeah.
intriguing and thought-provoking.
Hmm.
So thank you for quoting this, Scott. So, for listeners yearning for spiritual peace, especially in today's modern day world, where technology, uh, pragmatism, uh, to some extent hatred, they all prevail together. What
Yes.
daily practices can help them cultivate in their lives, keep them grounded, centered?
Oh, I wouldn't know anything about that because I'm addicted to watching YouTubes. I have a very noisy mind because I put noise into it. And
Oh.
I wake up in the morning and I go outside and I listen to the birds, the roosters, uh,
Mm.
the nature sounds, and I look up at the stars very early in the morning, and I do some spiritual practices with my feet on the grass. And I love how I feel when I let nature sounds rather than YouTube sounds infiltrate my consciousness. It relaxes my nervous system and it makes me feel closer to love and to God. I also come out of that spiritual practice and go into my exercise routine while watching YouTubes. Now, granted, I often watch spiritual teachers, but that's not really helping my nervous system. My nervous system is saying, please go back out in nature and be in the quiet. and attuned to the silence or the nature sounds. And uh, I just have a push-pull, like a love-hate relationship with my own mind. And part of me is like, I don't want to create the silence, because then I'm going to hear my inner critic, and I'm not comfortable just being with myself. So and today's society makes it so easy to fill up with noise from the internet. So I'm a work in progress, like all of us.
Lovely, lovely.
Yeah.
That's
And and my prayer this morning, as I was praying this morning, I said, teach me to value and be comfortable with the silence. You know, help me increase my willingness to go there. Because when I become willing, I go there and knock it out of the park. It's the, Gandhi, when he had a very busy day, he would meditate longer in the morning.
yes.
Yeah, and I know intellectually how important that is, and I just want to be honest with myself and forgiving that I'm not there yet. Like this morning, I kept saying, sit down and meditate before getting on this podcast, and I found a dozen things to do that my ego thought was more important.
Uh, happens. It happens.
Mhm.
But that's such an honest answer. And it's also beautiful how commitment to peace, whether it's getting closer to nature or mindfully becoming aware about the nature sounds, the rustling of leaves, the whistling sounds of air, wind, the sounds of birds chirping, rooster, the sunlight. It is so uh, spiritually peaceful and gives such a positive feeling to your heart. It can ripple through one's life. So I
Mm.
think you
You
definitely.
you are y- you are starting to sound like poetry in motion. I love your words. Let's let's riff. Riff is, let me create a little song based on what you just said.
Okay,
Okay?
okay.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah. In fact, feed me the first line so people know that I'm not making this. I didn't rehearse this.
okay. So let me just recollect because that was on the spot.
Well, it doesn't have
Uh,
to. It doesn't have to be from what you just said. It just give me the first line of.
okay,
Uh,
so let's take nature sounds, rustling of leaves. I think that's what it's called. And then whistling sound of wind and chirping, the chirping
okay,
sound.
that's enough. That's enough. I'm getting overwhelmed. How the rustling of the wind, the crispy sound of leaves. There's so much love in nature. I long to receive. If I can still my noisy mind and simply gently breathe, nature will take me home. It's not far away, not by a long shot. It's right here and now. I know that I can go there just to allow. No more push, no more shove. I'm long for God's sweet love, so let me make room, let me allow peace of God here and now.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I mean, it's on the spot, you know. Wow. Lovely, lovely, Scott. Beautiful.
I
Oh,
think there's a theme going on in our time together,
mm-hmm.
which is um, the importance of devotion and the importance of longing and prayer and asking for help, recognizing that the world is an obstacle course with opportunities every moment to distract ourselves, and that connecting with our longing for something more fulfilling than any distraction, that longing contains peace.
True.
That longing is all we need, and then that longing will lead us to the willingness to entertain spiritual practices. And which practice, it doesn't really matter that much. It's, as long as you commit to something, it's going to take you home.
True. I agree. I agree. That is so profound. Um, Also, uh, your rhymes, they blend creativity with wisdom, making spirituality so approachable and so memorable. I mean, I'm very sure our listeners will have a lot of memories to retain along with the insights, but they'll remember for sure that, uh, Scott just made a song on the spot with the sounds of nature and, uh, longing as something, a pathway to peace. So, uh, what inspired you to channel spirituality through this creative form? Why do you think rhyming helps you put up your thoughts in a clearer, in a better way?
The rhyming infiltrates the defenses and the intellect and goes straight to the heart of the inner child, the divine child, you might say the child of God that we are. So let's finish with the end of one of my spiritual Dr. Seuss poems. Uh, and this, because we started with the inner critic. So let's end with uh, how it might feel and how it might sound like to put the inner critic in its place, which is maybe in the passenger seat instead of driving the car. So one day when you failed and succeeded enough, you witness your critic exposed in the buff, and you realize behind all its protective clothing that the critic's been hiding a state of self loathing. And beyond that, you realize the biggest of deals. You've dreamt up the critic, it's not even real. So, for richer, for poorer, in all kinds of health, you make a commitment to loving yourself. You release the projections you placed upon others and find through forgiveness that peace is discovered. You realize the love that you searched for outside you is what you are made of and can't be denied you. So you let go your potions, your plans, and your pills, put some logs on the fire and learn how to chill. Your old superstitions have gone up in smoke, like you can't rest in peace until after you croak. You no longer fear death, or for that matter, life, because you know that all matters are gift wrapped in light. It goes on, but I think this is a good place to
Mm,
stop. And
absolutely. And the last line is so beautiful. All that matters is gift wrapped in light.
Mhm.
Beautiful. Oh, conversation, Scott. And if our listeners they wish to check out, explore more about your songs, your rhymes, and
Yes,
about work,
yeah,
how they can.
yeah. I would love to just direct people to my website, which is scottsongs.com, SCOTTSONGS.com. And pay attention to something I do called song portraits, which is when people hire me to create a song for their spiritual journey or just to celebrate somebody's birthday. Doesn't even have to have a spiritual theme. It could be a song of just appreciating somebody you love. I've done them for funerals and weddings and anniversaries. So that's one of the things they'll find on my website. I also do, I would call it psychic work, where I tune into people as a life coach and as a seer, where I can see people's, could say, deepest destiny and the wounding and the next steps to come into their greatness. And that's all there as well on the website. And they can also, all the free stuff, all the spiritual Dr. Seuss and music and all kinds of stuff. So it's all there. scottsongs.com.
Lovely, lovely. We'll make sure to have all the links in the show notes, and our listeners, please make sure to check out Scott's website, scottsongs.com. Exciting things to explore.
Mhm.
And Scott, once again, a huge thank you, huge gratitude to you for joining us on this journey and sharing your incredible journey and insights with us about peace, spirituality, life, death,
Yes,
everything.
everything. All right, dear. Well, it's been a pleasure. It's amazing how much we could cover in 30 minutes.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And listeners, healing the inner critic, valuing peace, and also using humor, music, rhyming, these are powerful tools for personal growth and achieving inner peace. So, if you enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends, your family, your loved ones. And let's continue this journey together towards inner peace and better health together. Until next time, stay inspired and keep shining. Thank you.